All right, what is up, everyone? Welcome to another special edition of the Danny Show. I'm your host, Daniel Cody, and this is where I give commentary and reviews on all things wrestling. Before I get started with last night's episode of Money in the Bank, I want to tell you guys a little something for fun. First and foremost, usually at a time like this, like I did last year when John Cena returned, I wore green. But the reason I'm not wearing green today is because I got something really special I'd like to show you guys. My birthday recently passed. It was on the 29th of June. And one of the presents I got is this new shirt I'd like to show you guys. First off, let me show you the sleeve right here. Check that out. A family member designed this for me. And check this out. Yeah, pretty good. Oh, and here's the best part. Check this out. Get a good look. You can see best of wrestling's past, present, and future. AJ Styles, Braun Strowman, Roman Reigns, Brock, CM Punk, Cena, Dean Ambrose, Undertaker, Rock, Stone Cold drinking right there. All those great stuff. So that was one of my presents this year. My next shirt, I got another present, which is another shirt that I'll be wearing this upcoming Friday. But for now, let's get started with my review on Money in the Bank. First off, very interesting night. Very interesting night. Let's get into it. First off, we have the women's Money in the Bank match. We saw Asuka and Becky, who are well known rivals as of lately, going at it, and I really enjoyed watching those two. I hope they face off at SummerSlam just to get the rivalry a little more heat and make it interesting, but don't overuse it. But after SummerSlam, we can kill off the rivalry. But I like watching Becky and Asuka go at it. So Becky and Asuka went at it. We had Raquel Gonzalez bench pressing Liv, attempting to bench press Liv and Becky on the ladder, and then double suplexing both of them onto it. We have Becky splashing everyone who was stacked on a ladder in the corner. That was interesting. I don't know why fans were booing Lacey Evans. I think the build up to her coming back was pretty good, but for some reason, fans weren't really feeling her as much, even though she is the babyface. So you have that. You have the sunset flip that Liv did. We also had Shotzi doing a couple of botches tonight. I think there was a couple of bloopers from her in the match, but nonetheless, good showing for her. Becky did a senton on Asuka on the made a bridge on the ring side, but the ladder, did not break miraculously. But Liv Morgan and Becky Lynch ended up fighting, and Liv did not fall when Becky pushed her off the ladder. She came back and took Becky out so that she could win the ladder match. Keep Liv in mind because Liv winning is going to pay huge dividends later on in last night's Money in the Bank match. So keep her in mind because we're going to talk. The downward spiral continues for Becky Lynch, the man. The last time Becky Lynch was in Las Vegas, she was everyone's favorite. Now, times have changed. Let's get to the next match of the evening. We have Bobby Lashley versus Austin Theory. And it's so ironic that last year Bobby Lashley was a heel and he totally dominated Kofi Kingston in a WWE Championship match like Cena and Brock Lesnar. I also, by the way, I reviewed last year's Money in the Bank. If you're new to this channel, you can also check that out. But either way, last year it was one-sided. This year it was a pretty much competitive match. So competitive that Bobby Lashley's birthday is coming soon in the month of July, and I plan on doing a top 10 countdown of my favorite Bobby Lashley matches. This match will be on that list. I expected it to be one sided again but I guess they want to make it competitive. It's funny how they make heels destructive, but when they become baby faces, they try to make it seem like they got a vulnerable side. Nonetheless, after a very competitive match from Austin Theory, who likes to throw oil in people's faces, not the holy kind, Lashley was very powerful tonight. There was a moment where Theory went for this little roll up thing that Waller in NXT does, as well as Adam Page on AEW. And Lashley caught it with a gorilla press and power slam. That was awesome. Theory stole Lashley's spear, but he couldn't go for the A Town because he got caught in the Hurt Lock. And Lashley is once again U.S. champion. And like I said, this match will be on my Bobby Lashley list early later on this month. So be sure to be there to check it out. Also, Corey, you a darn lie. You did not believe Lashley was gonna win. You jumping on bandwagon from bandwagon. Corey is something hilarious. Speaking of Corey, Corey cannot be biased in this next match because Corey's wife, Carmella, nice Titantron with the Lamborghini. Corey's wife, Carmella, faced off against Bianca Belair. And first off, Corey said something that was quite funny. Corey said that Triple H recommended a special spot in Vegas for their love space and all of that stuff. I was like, Corey, are you nuts? The last time Triple H was in Vegas for a love spot, note to self, what road is it? Somewhere past the strip. I don't know where, but let's just say this. I've been to Vegas. Once you stop seeing all those tall buildings and you start getting further down, make a U turn. Because the only thing down there is what my upbringing would call devil stores. All those devil stores is how I would call it. And by devil stores, I mean adult stores. But either way, Triple H found. Story is Triple H recommended one of those areas for weddings to Carmella and Corey, which is not a good idea because that brings back bad memories of the time Triple H did to Stephanie what many accuse old Bill Cosby of doing. And of course, that started what is now a meme when Triple H was called out by Mr. McMahon when Mr. McMahon said, "Come on out, you rapist!" Y'all remember that? "Come on down, you rapist!" And ironically, Mr. McMahon is being accused of raping the first female referee many years ago. Do y'all Just a quick question. Do y'all think Mr. McMahon would do such a thing? I mean, I know he's had affairs. I believe when they say he had affairs. I'm surprised a 76-year-old peen works, but either way, do y'all really think Mr. McMahon would do something like that? Just asking. Nonetheless, I don't recommend those spots because they bring back bad memories of when he manipulated the wedding. Triple H did as a heel and ended up being called a rapist, and that became a meme. But nonetheless, as great as the night was, this particular match between Bianca and Carmella, it is so familiar to me with all due respect. It was like watching an episode of SmackDown. I'm glad Bianca retained, but to have no disrespect to Carmella, to have those two go at it again, it's like, I've seen this before, and unlike certain New Day versus Uso rivalries, this is overused, if you will. I think that particular one was overused, and Carmella was a sore loser tonight. So after she lost, which we expected, you can't stop the EST. Come on. So, and by the way, can someone tell me the name of that song that they had for WWE live ads? I think it's called Light It Up. And it's funny, it's a hard rock metal sounding song. And yes, I like hard rock and metal. Now, if this were the 90s, Yokozuna would snatch my Linkin Park CD out the cassette and throw it out and say, Mother Trucker, do you know you black? I'm alluding to that special episode of Table for Five starring The Undertaker and his BSK crew, and that funny story about how The Godfather has every piece of taste in music, including country. Did not know that. Did not know Paul Bearer was a huge fan of Chinese food. I love Chinese food. Me and Paul could have went out and told wrestling and listened to wrestling stories together. Would have been fun. Of course, not going out for Chinese pissed Paul off, and Paul Undertaker did Paul Bearer's face perfectly. If you haven't seen it, if you have Peacock, be sure to check out Table for Five. And that story with Dennis, aka Midian, and the Undertaker, and Midian breaking Undertaker's bike, that was funny. Now let's get down to serious business. Next match is for the WWE Undisputed Tag Team Championships with the Usos versus the Street Profits. All the rumors of the Street Profits not getting along, apparently those were all lies. Who put that rumor out there? Either way, tonight we saw the guys previously on SmackDown, they were stealing each other's quotes. Usos stole Street Profits quote, and Street Profits did the same. So the build up was pretty good for that. This was a great tag team match, although the ending was very controversial. We had suck it chants because obviously Montez Ford is a DX fan, and then we got McAfee chants. Nonetheless, like Roman Reigns, Usos dominated the match, isolating both Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford. There was a scene where I'd never seen this before, but there was a double vertical to Angelo Dawkins onto the turnbuckle post. And during that time, Corey Graves took some shots at Roman Reigns, saying, of course, the fans respect the Usos. They're here every week. They're not champions sitting on their backs. Corey, do not come for the head of the table. Don't do it. You'll die 1,000 deaths. He might be a villain, but you'll die 1,000 deaths. Do not challenge Roman. Keep the tribal chief's name out your freaking mouths. But nonetheless, they controlled most of the match. The After isolating both guys, they isolated Montez Ford next, and then Angelo Dawkins comes in after he done got some rest time and starts flying. Then we see Montez Ford fly a little bit later, and then go for the frog splash on the J, which almost got the 3 count. Jimmy breaks that up, and so we see blockbuster moves from the Street Profits. That doesn't keep them down. And we would eventually, after a great epic match and a lot of near falls, we would actually end up seeing double super kicks and the 1D Shades of the Dudley Boys. But Montez Ford's shoulders were not completely down. One shoulder was up. And I actually noticed when they went for the pin the first time, I said, wait a minute. I'm like, if I didn't know any better, his shoulder was down. But then at the first time, I said maybe when Uso was coming up, he kind of dragged his shoulder. But then when they replayed it, they showed what I actually thought the first time, and that's Montez Ford's shoulders were not down. we don't want to overuse rivalries because we don't want things to get boring, but I want to see this happen again at SummerSlam. And we need to settle this, just like Brock and Roman need to settle it. But if the only concern is if Brock becomes champion, will we get the Brock Lesnar that shows up, or will we get the Brock Lesnar that was part time and we hated him for it in 2018 and 19? We'll see what happens. Let's move on to the next match. This one was really good. The women's match between Ronda Rousey and Natalia was great. First of all, that mic segment where they said the only way Natty can be relevant is by dressing like Ronda. Ouch. But let's get into the match. Great technical match. Great amateur skills on display. They traded holds. They even traded ankle locks and arm bars. They traded their own holds with each other. It was amazing amateur skills. Natalia wants everyone to shut up, but I can't shut up because I'm trying to build a successful channel, so I'm not going to shut up. Pat gets paid to talk. But no one's shutting up. The match continues. It is absolutely even and amazing. Sharpshooter on the apron. Ronda wouldn't quit. Ronda and Natalia used ankle locks. In fact, Rousey used the sharpshooter once and then posed like Shawn Michaels, almost insulting what happened at Survivor Series 97. I actually gave my thoughts on that, by the way, if you want to check that out. Nonetheless, after a great technical match, it wasn't until they traded attempts to put their own submission holds in that Rousey caught Natalia in an armbar in a certain way that we don't usually see it happen, and Rousey made Natalia tap out while standing. Very unique. Shocking thing though, plot twist. Liv Morgan cashes in, the crowd goes nuts. They actually booed when Rousey had her in the ankle lock, but Liv rolled her up and the crowd went nuts. Some, like myself, will say this is a long time coming, but finally Liv Morgan is a women's champion. A SmackDown women's champion, which means she's going to be off Raw and coming to SmackDown. SmackDown just got interesting. Let's get into the main event. In a fun way, I was hot as fire. I was pissed off mad at this next one. I was mad. I was they came everyone came for the Money in the Bank main event match. The favorite was obviously Riddle because he's from Las Vegas. However, Adam Pearce comes out and says, "We got a new member." I'm thinking it's going to be MJF because obviously MJF wanted to come to WWE. Just we thought he's coming sooner. But it wasn't MJF. It was Theory. And I was mad. In a fun way, I was mad like this darn Vince. The guy already wants to stroke his ego because I know it's his company, but he just had to stroke his ego knowing he's in trouble. People can do that nowadays. Either way, Theory, who's part of basically Vince McMahon's Kiss My Club. So, Theory's in the match, and the match starts with Omos wiping everybody out while Sami Zayn plays hide and seek behind the ring post, and Theory gets his chest beat in like a drum by Sheamus and Drew McIntyre, and everyone buries Omos under ladders, and I honestly thought we were going to see that special ladder that the Big Show used in 2010 as well as 2012. But we didn't get to see the special ladder. Darn it. But either way, Omos, I don't know if Omos would have been able to stand on the ladder or he would have broke it. I don't know. But either way, they buried him under the ladders, but it wasn't until they both, everyone except Theory, hoisted Omos in midair and threw him through the announce table. that they were able to take him out of the match. We saw hometown man Riddle, whom I thought was going to win this thing, do a whisper in the wind and pay homage to Randy Orton by doing the vintage DDT onto Sheamus while Sheamus was hanging from the middle of the ladder. And then he goes on to RKO Seth Rollins off the ladder. Seth Rollins has been taking a lot of bumps off ladders. Last year, he took a bump from Big E Langston off the top of the ladder. This year, it's an RKO. But then that gives time for Theory to come in and fight off Riddle to win the match. Darn, darn, darn. Why? Jam, jam, jam! Theory wins, but I still don't think Theory is going to be the guy to dethrone the tribal chief. It's going to be a great last man standing match, make no mistake about it. But Theory is not dethroning the tribal chief unless Roman and Brock darn near kill each other. But other than Theory and Bianca, I like Bianca. It's just that the match between her and Carmella was too familiar. But other than that, I thought it was an excellent, excellent night. I really enjoyed the matches. What do you think about Money in the Bank last night? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm your host, Daniel Cody. That's all the time I got for you today, and I'll be back with another review on all things wrestling when Liv comes to SmackDown. Can't wait to talk about that. See you later, guys. Oh, by the way, I hear The Rock has some unknown siblings. Interesting. See you next time.